Good morning, Shmuel Chantal, the running tour guide, together with Dr. Tuvia Book. You find yourselves with us in Susya. This beautiful mosaic says Susya. Does it ring a bell? Well, don't worry if it doesn't. It's an off the beaten track site in the southern Hebron hills, Drom Har Hebron, pretty much midway between Hebron, and Beersheba in the Negev in the south. We're going to take you on a running tour starting in the modern town of Susya. About 1,400 Jews live here, and it was settled in 1983, but we're going to run you back to the times of the Mishnah and the Talmud and take you through the ancient archaeological site of Susya. So enjoy it with us. We're going to run you into the synagogue in modern Susya, and then we'll take you to the old. Wow. Here we are in the highest point of the modern settlement, on the Givah, on the peak of the hill. And you know, there's many discussions in Chazal, in the Talmud, that the holiest site, the Beit HaKnesset, should be placed on the highest hill within the community. And if we look here through the windows in the direction of the ancient synagogue, we are heading in the direction of Jerusalem. And could it be that the ancient synagogue is also at the highest point within the archaeological site? Stay tuned. Let's go and see if there really was a Jewish settlement here during those times. Let's go. Each family, you'll see here, for example, the Israel family, mosaics displaying the family names outside the homes. A little personal story. I'm very connected to Susya, and I've spent many times, many Shabbatot together with family. My brother-in-law's sister lives here, Colleen Bamberger. Here you can see the family name, Mishpachat Bamberger. But the plan is, at the end of our vlog, we'll pop in and have a visit. The minute you leave the community, we head into the beautiful rolling hills of Hebron, of Judea, the southern Judean hills. Now, if you're here in the summer months, these hills really are desert fringed. We're very close to the northern Negev, and to our east, the Judean desert. So Susya actually finds itself at quite an interesting place. You know, the connection between two desert belts. Check this out, folks. We're going to use these piles of stones to point out the view. Let's go up here. Thankfully, these stones, probably from the Roman Byzantine period, built upon dwellings and caves, gives us the view that we need today. So that's exactly what we've done. You can see the modern synagogue of the community of Susya, and we've just done a short trail which goes on the outskirts, and it's brought us here. But look where we're headed. If you look due west of us now, I don't know if you can notice that gabled structure. That is the ancient site of Susya, and that is the ancient synagogue that we're going to take you to.
So back then, on the highest point of the community was the synagogue, and over here on the highest point of this community with a white gabled roof is the synagogue. Here Jews lived, and here Jews live. And when you come to a place like this, you realize we are all links in the chain of Jewish continuity, stretching back to when Jews farmed their land, Jews were independent in their land, Jews fought for their own dignity, back to a time where for 2,000 years Jews yearned to be a free people in our land. And here we are again, once again, farming that land, defending that land, living in that land, and raising children for the future in this land.
But remember, before we can say these things, we have to prove to our followers that the ancient site of Susya was Jewish. A song that springs to mind talking about this. Chadesh, Chadesh Yameinu, Chadesh Yameinu Kekedem. Bring back the good old days. Let's go and see it. The modern road that is parallel to us, Highway 60, is known as Derech Avot, the way of our forefathers. So this is really running those routes and connecting us with really the heartland, the backbone of the land of Israel. not only in its past, but definitely for its future. One of the most contentious pieces of territory in the Holy Land is where we're running. Now, I've mentioned this to you guys before. What an opportunity and what a blessing to run these historical routes. And it just provokes your thoughts, not only to think what it could have been like, but it's a yearning, it's a hopeful yearning to think about what it will be like. And living history means living it in the now. So I think that's pretty much a little statement of what this vlog will be. A real history of Susya, which is very much alive, but with so much more that still needs to be achieved for the locals that live here. Arabs and Jews side by side. Yes, it is tense, but look what we're doing. Something not so intense. We've now connected with the tar road, the main road that leads to ancient Susya. So if you're not a runner or a hiker, you're able to drive right up to the ancient archaeological site. But en route, I'm going to point out to you Yatta, and on the horizon, Hebron. So Susya is about 10 miles, 16 kilometers from Hebron, and about 27-28 kilometers from Beersheba. So it is very strategically located between two important biblical cities. And Yatta preserves the ancient Jewish town of Yuta. And you'll also be able to see Yatir. You'll be able to see Samoa, which preserves the name Eshtamoa. And Susya, also preserved by the local Arab communities. So thankfully we have an idea of the location of the biblical cities based on the preservation of the historical names by the local Arabs. So we're not far off, we're about a half a kilometer, and we're very excited to show you Susya. Welcome, ברוכים הבאים לאתר סוסיה, ancient Susya, עירייה יהודית קדומה, the ancient Jewish city of Susya. Love it. That was a great run. 4 kilometers. How beautiful this is. Susya, עירייה יהודית קדומה, הכל התחיל לפני 1,500 שנה. Everything began 1,500 years ago. Okay folks, look how beautiful this is. We're inside the visitor center of ancient Susya. This is Nadav. Nadav is the manager of the site here. And what's so nice about this place, you can stop, you can have a coffee, and of course you can get yourself all of the local products from Drom Har Hebron, from the southern Hebron communities. And you can come and support the local communities. But boy, oh boy, just so comfortable, so beautiful. With the limestone here, you really feel like you've entered a piece of paradise. Look at these magnificent products. You've got honeys, you've got olive oils, you've got creams. Just great. Love shopping. Okay, let's do Susya. We'll start here. A rolling stone. Now our sages discuss in the Talmud, there's many stories about the fact that when do you know that you're reaching the city? Well, this is a good example of it, because all of the burial grounds are outside of the city limits, and they discuss, you know, what is the meaning of it? The fact that you're seeing a burial cave, is it a place of sadness? Is it going to make you feel bad? I want to leave you guys with a positive feeling. Here we are seeing a tomb from the period of the Mishnah and the Talmud, and you know, the yearning and the hope of the return of a revivification of a nation, of a revival of the dead. There is that discussion amongst the sages that it's a sign of the Geula, the sign of the coming redemption. And this is outside of the city limits. You can clearly see the walls of ancient Susya and the rolling stone that covers the cave.
Fascinating.
Fascinating.
For many centuries, Jewish burial customs were very different than they are today. There was something called a secondary burial. What would happen is a family would buy a cave and use it for generations. And when the person passed away, they would basically open it up with a rolling stone, and inside there would be a cave with shelves on. They would put the body there, seal it. A year later, they would return and take the bones and gather them with the ancestral bones underneath. That's why the Bible says many times, "V'yasvu el avotav," and they were gathered to their ancestors, both literally and figuratively. And so this is all part of that secondary burial process. Today, in contemporary Judaism, all that remains of that custom is a year after the burial, we have the stone setting to commemorate that time. And we're standing in a huge courtyard where people would come on the anniversary of their death and gather and say prayers and talk and commemorate.
Right on. So from death to life. But remember, I want to remind us of the question: how do we know that this is a Jewish village? We know burial practices of the Second Temple period. We know burial practices of the First Temple period. But what will give us a clue that this is a Jewish village? I think we need to head to the city and start answering some questions.
Yalla.
Yalla. Okay, the city walls. Should we take them to the dwellings? Let's go to the dwellings. Take the long way around. Okay, here you have an entrance into a cistern. Of course you need water. And very interesting walls. City wall residence. Now what's the reason to have houses within the walls?
Well, these are casemate walls. It's a double wall, used both for dwelling and for defense as well. So there's a double purpose of having it.
Right, now let's see what we can find as we look around here.
Yes, you can see clearly they're forming a protective belt around the city.
Okay, but I'd like to call this a Jewish belt of the city. If we look closely, have a look in the stone here. You can see engravings of 2 menorot, 7 branched candelabra. Now this is starting to point to the fact that this is a Jewish town. And these are dwellings on the wall. This stone may have been the lintel stone at the entrance, the lintel stone that's lying down at an angle, probably from the destruction of the earthquake in 749. Okay, and now right next to the menorot, have a look what they found here. This is a very exciting find. On the doorpost, on the right-hand side, a place where the scroll, the mezuzah, would have been put into the stone. Now, isn't that something? Obviously, the scroll no longer survives, but it is quite clear that seeing a symbol of a menorah, a niche inside the doorpost, this is the commandment that was lived out even after the destruction of the temple.
And you shall write them on the doorposts of your house and your gates. This is from the Shema, the central prayer of the Jewish religion. And here it is literally carved in stone where these Jews placed their mezuzah all those centuries ago.
On the doorposts as well as close to the gates of the city. So folks, that's one good physical remain helping us understand that this was a Jewish village, but there must be more.
Fascinating, Sherlock.
Let's go. We'll just continue along the walls, and right next to the menorot and the dwellings of the mezuzah, you have a mikvah tahara, a ritual mikvah. Now listen to this. 35 ritual baths were found amongst the ruins of Susya. This definitely tells us something. And during the times of Yoshua, which is way back in the settling of the land of Israel, the Heartland, Judea and Samaria, here we have a community that were very careful, or should I say very committed to ritual purity, hence the fact that they found so many mikvaot. Could this have been a city of Kohanim? Could it have continued on the tradition from the times of the temple, that they were?
Maybe when we get to the synagogue we have to examine if there's any inscriptions that might describe priests.
Could be. So there we have it, menorot, mezuzot, mikvaot. But you know what, folks? This mikvah is still operational. You wouldn't believe it. The winter rains have given us the minimum amount of water that you need within a mikvah, 40 selah, I believe it is. We'll check up on that source, but come and see with me. We could really use it even today. at that. Fresh rainwater, clear as can be. I wouldn't have a problem using this, and many of the locals from Susya come here on Erev Shabbat, on Friday afternoon, and use one of the many mikvaot that we can show you. We'll show you another one close to the Beit Knesset, but the proof is in the pudding. Okay, let's go deeper. Okay, let's take you to the movies. Who would expect a movie theater here in the middle of Susya? Hey folks, so when you guys come and visit, you can come and watch a 10-minute film. The film is aimed mainly for the youth, gives you a feel of all the questions as to what this community could have been like, who lived here, when it was destroyed, but especially nice to sit here in the dwelling cave amongst the history and see it through a modern eye. So come and check it out. Right, we are heading to Shul, to the Beit Knesset. Let's go. We have arrived from the new synagogue to the old synagogue, and just to again connect the two, that one was on the highest hill. Here you can see the ancient synagogue also on the highest hill. But what do we find here at the entrance? A rolling stone.
Wow, Mick Jagger certainly gets around.
He surely does. Take us in. Another niche to the mezuzah.
Holy hole.
Entering from the east, here we have the courtyard and the stairs leading up to the main part of the synagogue. But what we'll do is we'll take you here first. Come and look at this. Magnificent mosaic floor. Not written in Aramaic, but written in Hebrew. And you know what? We can read this. Anybody that studies Hebrew today, the revived language of Hebrew in the modern state of Israel, can read. And what does it say here?
Let's see what it says. Chol Tova, Kedushat, Meri Rabbi Asi HaKohen, Mchobad Beyebi Sha'asap Sifos Hazeh, Vetach et Kotelav, Besid Ma Shenenadav Mishter, Rabbi Yochanan HaKohen HaSofer, Birebi Bano Shalom al Yisrael. Amen.
Amen.
Jews are the only people who can come back centuries later and read their own language. Hebrew is the only language in the world that fell out of use for centuries, and yet when the Jews returned to their land, not only did they revive their independence, they revived their own holy language to make it a spoken language. So any kid who's in first grade can come and read an inscription that was written literally 1.5 millennia ago.
Isn't that incredible? And in brief, what does it say? Pretty much like we have in many synagogues today, someone who dedicated either the Holy Ark or the seats or the pulpit. But here you can see the floor, the mosaic floor, which was given in honor of the rabbi of the community, who it mentions Rabbi Isi HaKohen. Isi the Kohen, a Kohenite family. We spoke about the mikvaot. And what did he do? He donated this in honor of his son's wedding.
Yeah.
Wow. So guys, that takes you back. Again, a very strong proof that this is a Jewish town.
Absolutely.
Rabbi, Cohen, Shul, dedication to the Shul. So,
in fact, the donor plaque idea goes all the way back to the temple, where there was a gate called Nicanor's Gate. I wonder who donated that.
I wonder. Let's move on. Okay, you can see the scene has changed. When you're at a place like this, there's no reason why you cannot wear the garb. Here we have the phylacteries, the talit, the prayer shawl, and the tefillin in an ancient synagogue. Always feels good. I kind of feel lost that I don't have mine with me. But what we're going to do now is we're going to reveal to you the beauty and the significance of the synagogue. And what we'll do is we'll take you to the second floor, which will give us a view to the mosaic. So join us and come and see its beauty. By the way, as you come up here, look at that view. You can see the entire village that surrounds the synagogue. At the highest point of the Giv'ah, of the hill, we have the Beit Knesset.
When you first come in, there's an inscription right by the door. Now, extremely unusual, you come in from the east side, and there's a courtyard. And one of the reasons why, and this is unique, is because the temple itself is called the Bet Mikdash, the house, the holy house, and a synagogue was called a Mikdash Mat, a small temple. Zecher Mikdash, to remember the temple. And architecturally, this synagogue was built with an entrance from the east, just like the Holy Temple in Jerusalem, with an initial courtyard and with a second hall called an olam. And in the third area, which is where it's significant, it symbolizes the Holy of Holies. So really, architecturally, they're trying to remember that temple in Jerusalem, which had been destroyed half a millennia previously. This synagogue has the most complete special area around the ark, which had screens from marble imported all the way from Turkey, and it's very, very similar to screens one would see in a Byzantine church. So here again, the Jews have the chameleon effect, where they take their architecture, the surrounding culture, and incorporate it into Judaism. What makes this Jewish? These screens do not obviously have a cross on them. They have a beautiful menorah on one side. On the other side, they have a palm tree symbolizing the land of Judea itself. And in the original ones are in the Israel Museum. What we see behind me over here are reconstructions. So clearly the community here put a lot of time and effort into their synagogue. It's all part of making the mitzvah beautiful. Hidor mitzvah, beautiful floors, imported marble screens. And this was the central building of the entire Jewish community, not just as a place of prayer and a place of study, but also as a place of refuge as well. In addition to the round rolling stones, some of these walls are actually 3 meters, that's 9 foot thick. And just in case there's real trouble here, we're going to exit the synagogue in a very unusual way.
Great. Here you have a community that was living out Jewish law, yearning for the redemption of Jerusalem. And this synagogue faces Jerusalem, and the symbols of the temple in the floor of this synagogue is supposed to provoke those thoughts, provoke those ideas and those hopes and the desires of our ancestors that lived here 1500 years ago. Now, talking as a returned Jew on the beautiful rolling hills of Judea in an ancient site that is not just stones. This is a functioning, living synagogue, and we're just talking about the fact how beautiful it would be to have a family celebration at a site like this where you can use the ancient site. And looking at the mosaic, it even looks like it's the entrance into the Beit HaMikdash, the entrance into the temple. Some of the scholars say it's actually pretty much a picture of the Aron HaKodesh, the holy ark that was in this synagogue of that time. But I think in a nutshell, if we move around and look back towards the modern community of Susya, and you can see the synagogue that is used daily 3 times a day by the Jewish families living on these hills. Isn't that remarkable that we have this connection with our past, and we have this wonderful vision of a future amongst these hills? Okay, we're going to leave the synagogue not the usual way. We're going underground. Let's go.
You know why?
Why?
Because it's a very holy place. So we're going into a hole.
Wow. Good sense of humor, and he's smart. But why is this here, by the way?
Why? Because the synagogue wasn't just here for decorative purposes, it was also a refuge for the community. That's why it was built with these massive rolling stones, 3 meter thick walls. And wherever, if the community was under threat, they would come through this emergency tunnel where they could safely fortify themselves inside this courtyard.
Okay, let's go see it
Let's
ourselves.
check it out. Chicka chicka's just up your street.
Oh, wow. How was that? That is a way to leave the synagogue. An exciting adventure. It really gives you an understanding how important it was to protect yourselves during those times. And like I mentioned earlier, there is that school of thought that because Susya finds itself between the Negev desert and the Judean desert to the east, that this was often a place of vagabonds that would come and steal the supplies of the agricultural subsistence farming of the agricultural communities that surrounded Susya. And many of these storehouses or dwellings underneath could have been a place where they would have to keep the produce safe. But boy oh boy, this is really a place of history, of fun, of adventure. It's got it all in one site, and then you afforded with this magnificent view looking towards Yatta Hebron. All good?
Yeah.
You escaped? There we go.
Escape tunnel.
The escape tunnel. Okay, we have one more mikveh, one more ritual bath that we want to show you. When I used to come and spend time with the Bamberger family, often I'd come with the kids here and jump into the mikveh. So this is going to bring back memories. Let's go and see it. Here it is. Oh, still here. So I told you this is really bringing back memories for me. We'd come here every Erev Shabbat, and you would think, a mikveh here? Believe it or not, this rope will lead you over this wall into the pool. You want to go check it out for us?
Sure.
Get up there. Shammai, Matanya, Avi, remember we used to come here? Still water in there? Nice. Okay, I got to go and see for myself again. So here we are, folks, at the top. Have a look inside. Full of water. Really, really nice place to come for a ritual bath. I just remember how cold it was. So today I don't have the guts to do it. Actually, I don't have the time. Truth is, I do want to get in. But we'll leave that for next time. Let's head on. Oh, look here. Hopefully I didn't step on this one. There's a millipede.
Yeah.
Shongololo.
Shongololo.
Oh, and it just peed all over me. Okay, goodbye ancient Susia. Now it's time for the run back. Dr. Book is going to stay here and explore. I'll go get the car and come pick him up. See you back at Susia. Modern Susia. Okay, this has been a very fast run from ancient Susia to modern Susia. Could be a Strava segment, you never know. I'll have to set one up if there isn't one. We are running at 3:35 a kilometer. Feeling good. What a combination. History and running, my two loves coming together. And especially here on the beautiful hills of Hebron, the Heartland, the future. Almost there. Keep it up. Okay folks, we're back in modern Susia and we're going to visit some family. Welcome to Mishpachat Bamberger, Avi and Colleen Bamberger. Hopefully we'll get something to eat. Okay, so here we are folks, a little piece of paradise at Mishpachat Bamberger, and we're having an outdoor picnic, Corona style. And there is my sister-in-law Colleen. Colleen has treated us. Look at this.
And the soup is basari.
The soup is basaria meaty soup. Check it out. Noodle soup. What soup is this?
Colleen.
It's a Colleen noodle soup. And look at this, dim sum. Who would have thought Thai food in the middle of modern Susia? Homemade Thai
We
food.
are in Asia.
We are, exactly. We are in Asia. This is not the African on the African continent though. Am I right? African continent in Asia? Who
This one's
knows?
fully Asia, but no one admits it. Yeah.
Let's not get into details. So folks, I think this is the perfect place to end off the vlog. I hope you enjoyed the run around modern Susia, ancient Susia. We got to see life from before, and here is life of today. And like we mentioned earlier, Hashivenu Hashem Elecha Venashuva Chadesh Yameinu Kekedem. Bring
Amen.
back the good old days. And with that, we'll finish off
L'chaim.
with a cup of tea. L'chaim, Shabbat Shalom. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. Remember to click on the subscribe button, hit that bell, give us a like, drop a comment. It keeps us informed as to what you like and what you want to see. And remember, we promise to take you to many places most people do not get to. The land of promise, the land of hope. Shabbat Shalom. Peace out.